Twice this week, a man has followed me home.
What?
Yes, a man has followed me.
Fiddlesticks, my dear Lucy. If I weren't your cousin, what reason could a man have for following you? If you were a young, pretty girl, it would be different. But as it is...
I don't know.
Of course you don't, because he wasn't. It was coincidence.
Yes.
Lucy, you haven't been worrying or imagining anything else. I mean, one does hear of women, especially when they've never married.
Really, Isabel.
That's her, all right.
Quite sure.
No doubt at all. I've seen her every day for nearly a year.
Now, Mr. Lewis, you own a house in Archer Street,
Yes?
and you identify the body as that of Miss Celia Worth. What do you know about her?
She was a nice, quiet tenant.
Did she ever keep company with a young man?
She was home most nights, alone usually. That is, till last winter.
What happened then?
I saw her arrive with a good-looking fellow, well-dressed. She said good evening to me, and they went inside.
Did you ever see the young man again?
I certainly did, time and again for many months.
Would you say they were very friendly?
Very. She acted real happy.
Did she ever tell you who the young man was?
No. But I did notice he had an American accent.
I'm Inspector Conrad, Brighton CID. I'm looking for Lincoln Hunter. Who are you?
Kessler, Mr. Hunter's menservant. He's not here. He's on his honeymoon in Paris, Inspector.
In there? Sit down. There are one or two questions I want to ask you. When did the Worth girl first come here?
I don't know who you mean. A girl called Worth?
Don't fence with me. You know perfectly well whom I mean.
Oh, very well. About early November.
Often after that?
Yes. She would come to dinner and still be here when I was ready to go home.
Did she ever, as far as you know, spend the night here?
No.
But she had a key to the front door.
Yes.
When did you notice they were less friendly?
I saw that was coming after Mr. Hunter met his new wife. I saw it before the girl did. He threw her over like an old shoe. Instead of coming a couple of times a week, she hardly came at all. In April, she stopped entirely.
Monsieur Hunter?
Numéro 15, monsieur.
I am sorry to disturb you, madame, but we must speak to your husband.
But he's in bed.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Hunter. I am a police inspector. We have to see him.
Will you wait here a minute, please?
Oh, if it's about parking a car in front of the hotel, I can explain
I'm
that.
sorry, Mr. Hunter. It's more serious than that. I'm Inspector Conrad of the Brighton Police.
Oh, don't you worry, honey. Look, wait back in the bedroom a while, huh?
You knew a girl called Celia Worth?
Knew?
She is dead.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, how did it happen?
That's what I'm here to ask you.
What do you mean?
Celia Worth was murdered on the night of May the 29th. In your house.
Well, that's impossible. I only saw the kid a couple of weeks ago, and she was well and fine and, well, happy.
Mr. Hunter, Can you account for your movements on May the 29th?
May 29th, huh? May 29th. Yeah. Yeah, it's curious. I can. That was the night I had the blackout. I had a few drinks at the country club. Later on, I remember going out to the dance floor, then suddenly I felt faint. Then I didn't remember another thing, no. Not another thing. The next morning, my man came to waken me, and I was in my own bed with a wicked thirst and a head like a balloon. Yeah, it was a complete blackout.
Have you anything else to add to that?
No, I honestly haven't. Never happened to me before. That's why the date stuck in my mind.
Then I have no alternative. I have here a warrant for your arrest for the murder of Celia Worth on the night of May 29th. I propose now to take you back to England, where you will be formally charged and brought before a magistrate.
You can't do this to me. I'm an American citizen.
Hello, Jeff. Having a good holiday?
Yes. What I managed to get of it.
Oh, you'll pick it up later. I've never known you backward in looking after your own interests.
That's why I broke it up. Well, what is it this time?
I've got a job for you. A real tough one. You'll love it. I'll just run through the high spots. In January of this year, John Wick, as our agent in Brighton, sold a 30-payment life policy to Lincoln Hunter. It was for £20,000.
Nice round figure.
It was written on the basis of semi-annual premium payments. The first premium was paid and the policy delivered.
How old is Hunter?
31 when Wick wrote the policy. He was engaged and later married. The insurance was made payable to his estate.
£20,000. That's an invitation to murder, isn't it?
Well, Hunter hasn't been murdered. He seems to have done the murdering.
Done what?
He's allegedly accused of committing a murder. Now, if he gets hanged, Commonwealth will have to foot the bill.
But didn't they check on...
We've been right through the insurance with a fine-tooth comb. We can't fight it.
And it's my job to see he's not hanged. Who was he supposed to have killed, anyway?
His ex-girlfriend. He was manager of the Meredith Works, a subsidiary of an American company. Papers are building it up into a pretty lurid affair.
They would. You're a local man, Mr. Wick. Tell me something about Hunter.
He's very popular here in Brighton, Mr. Howard. I thought he was a gilt-edged risk. Any agent would have thought the same thing. I congratulated myself on landing him for Commonwealth. I never dreamed that he'd be the sort of man to get mixed up in.
Who would? What's the defense going to be?
I don't know.
The papers say that Hunter's story is that he got drunk at a party, was brought home and put to bed, and the next thing he knew, he was being woken up by a servant. But that can hardly be the defense. They wouldn't have a hope.
I hear that Porter's handling the case.
Yes, he arrived in Brighton yesterday. I think I'll go down and see him.
May I see your credentials, Mr. Howard?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. Would you sit down?
Thank you.
Now, what can I do for you?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Porter. I just thought it might be an advantage if we got together from time to time to talk the case over.
We do have a common interest in freeing Hunter. What do you think of the whole thing?
Well, he's obviously in a tight spot. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You always get the hard ones, don't you?
Well, I get my share of them.
There seems to be a curious lack of other suspects.
Other suspects?
Yes.
I shouldn't take too gloomy a view of it, Mr. Howard. I've handled worse situations in my time.
Well, I'm glad you're confident. Do you mind if I see Hunter? I'd just like to ask him a few questions.
Yes, I see no reason why not. My clerk will give you the authorization.
Oh, that's very good of you.
You've got a lot of money tied up in Hunter.
Do you think we'll have to pay it?
Unless you've got some clause about criminal acts.
No, we haven't.
Then it looks like you're out of luck. Hunter handed that girl a lousy deal.
How have you people figured it out?
Just about the way it is in the papers. Hunter got the girl into trouble and then deserted her. She went to his house the night she was murdered to have it out with him. She had a key, we know that.
What time?
Oh, around 8 o'clock. Hunter was 15 miles away. He says he passed out about 10:30. People who took him home left his car in the garage and then took his fiancée home.
But from what I've read and heard, none of these people saw the Worth girl in Hunter's home.
No, but that wouldn't do him any good, because Hunter's house was the last place she was seen alive, and he had the opportunity and motive to kill her. Maybe the defense will argue that it was some other man. And he went to Hunter's house, had on Hunter's coat, killed her, and wrapped her in a blanket belonging to Hunter. But no jury will go for that.
I know.
It's surprising how many simple mistakes people make, Mr. Howard. There's no reason why your company shouldn't try to work out a different answer. You've got a lot of reasons, 20,000 of them.
You're telling me. Sometimes I get the right answer, sometimes I don't.
I'm afraid this is one of the times you don't.
How right you could be.
Well, good luck. We're not out to hang the wrong man, you know.
Well, that's a comforting thought anyway. My name's Howard.
Oh, yeah.
I spoke to Mr. Porter yesterday, and he gave me permission to see you.
He did.
Mr. Hunter, I know you've told your story many times, but I'm here to help you. So I'm afraid I must ask you to go over it again.
Why should you? Help me? What could you do?
Well, I don't know yet. It's my job. I've been an investigator for quite a few years.
I'm afraid I still don't understand. Just because they carry insurance on me, why should Commonwealth be... Oh, I see. Preventive insurance, eh? Like preventive medicine.
Yeah, that's about it.
Well, I have nothing to lose. Where shall I start?
Tell me about Celia Worth.
All right. We had fun together. There's a lousy streak in men. They're not apt to set a high value on what comes easy.
That's true enough.
Well, then came Ruth. She had every reason to set a high value on herself, because I felt for her in a way that was... I wasn't anything like the way I felt for Celia. Well, when all the trouble started, Celia wanted me to go to her hometown and pose as her husband before her friends and neighbors. Well, then I was to leave her. And after that, she'd come back to London, and in a few months, she'd write back home saying we'd got a divorce.
Tell me what happened in the club that night.
I didn't feel in the mood for it. That's why I started drinking. By 10 o'clock, I'd had a good many. One of the waiters came over to Ruth and said she was wanted on the phone. While she was gone, I went back to the bar and had another drink. Well, then she came back. I had a double scotch. And that finished me. I remember going back to the dance floor and leaning on Ruth. And then my cousin Clay came up to me and said I needed some air. Well, as I got outside, I just didn't remember another thing.
Did you hear any sounds in the night?
I didn't hear a thing.
Yet it seems pretty conclusive that Celia Worth was murdered in your living room. If you were not there, then someone else must have been.
I can't figure it out. I've thought about it. Believe me, I have. I can't believe I'm here. I can't. I must be going crazy. I can't believe this has happened to me. I can't believe that Celia was murdered. I can't.
Oh, I see. I'll go and call my daughter.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard, you came about my husband's insurance.
Yes, young lady.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
The policy will be cancelled now, won't it?
Oh, no, Mrs. Hunter. Once we accept a risk, we go through with it. But with such a large policy and the charge against your husband such a serious one, we make our own investigation.
The way things are with Link, what can I tell you?
Tell me what happened that Tuesday at the club.
Well, Link seemed quiet and morose when he came for me that night. I thought he'd been overworking in London. Some of the people at the club kidded me about Link, asking if we'd had an argument or something. I didn't realize he'd been drinking so heavily until after I came back from taking a phone call. We had a drink together and started dancing, and he could hardly stand up. I signaled to Clay Rushlow, Link's cousin, and we got him outside. My one thought was to get Link home without the whole place knowing what had happened. Johnny Gordon drove Link's car, and I sat with him, and the Rushlows followed in their car. Johnny had Link's keys, so we knew we could get into the house all right.
Did they have to carry him into the house?
Well, yes, he wasn't able to walk. Mr. Howard, he was totally unconscious. Why, it's preposterous to say he did all those things that night. He couldn't have.
You locked the front door?
I don't remember.
But as far as you know, the house was locked back and front.
Yes, I didn't try the doors myself, but Johnny and Clay said they were.
Did you all leave together in Mr. Rushlow's car?
Yes.
Where did you go?
I went home. The others wanted me to go back to the club, but I refused. I felt it would be awkward, and it was after 11 anyway by that time.
Uh-huh. Was your mother awake when you got home?
She woke up when I went upstairs and wanted a hot water bottle. I filled it, and then I went to bed myself. I didn't see or hear from anyone else at all that night.
Tell me, Mrs. Hunter, have you a car of your own?
No, right now I'm using Link's. We haven't had a car since my father died. Why do you ask?
Oh, no particular reason. Did you see the London papers while you were away?
Yes, now and then. I only glanced at them. If there was anything about Celia Worth, I didn't see it. After all, we were on our honeymoon. Oh, you're leaving. Mr. Howard, you will try and help Link, won't you?
Yes, I'll be in touch with you later. I'm afraid there'll be more questions.
The questions go on, and all the time Link has to stay in that awful jail.
I wish there was something I could tell you to help Link. He's in a terrible jam.
I gather, Mr. Gordon, you consider Hunter as...
Well, I didn't say that. No one's guilty until it's been proved against him, is he?
No? Sugar? Have you known him long?
3 years. My firm looks after Meredith's accounts.
Know him well?
Just off and on. I didn't really see very much of him until last spring. That was when Mrs. Hunter, started going around with him all the time.
You've known Mrs. Hunter longer?
Yes. The first person you ask will tell you that I've been in love with her for years. But I was just an old story to her.
But she has never become an old story to you?
No, she never will.
Well, that's hardly a new situation, is it, Mr. Gordon?
I suppose not. She certainly made a mistake about Hunter.
Well, that's not definite yet. Suppose we get down to what happened on the night of the party.
Lena? Well, everyone knew how I felt about Ruth, so I thought I'd be a good loser and go along to her party. She came in with Link and looked like an angel. But Link was looking pretty soured. As soon as they got inside the place, he grabbed a cocktail from a waiter, and he drank all evening.
Did it cross your mind at all that he might have been shamming?
Good Lord, no. When I carried him to the house, he was like a sack of potatoes.
What did you do after you put Hunter's car away?
Well, the four of us left in Clay's car. Ruth said she was tired and she wanted to go home, so we dropped her at her house and went on to the club.
What time was that?
Well, it was about 11:05 when we left Link's place, I suppose, and another 10 minutes before we got to Ruth's house.
What did you do when you got back to the club? Did you stay long?
Well, I wanted to go home straight away, but there was a girl. I managed to get rid of her later on, and, well, then I went home.
You went straight home?
Yes.
What's the matter?
There's nothing the matter. I mean, naturally, this affair bothers me.
Yes, so it seems.
For heaven's sake, Mr. Howard, you've got to believe me. I'm not mixed up in this affair.
Any ideas?
Yes, I have. The company is probably going to lose its money. There's only 1 in 1,000 chances that Hunter didn't do it.
What's the 1 in 1,000?
I don't know. I've been bothered from the beginning by the fact that Hunter didn't do anything from the night of the party to his wedding day. That worries me. Well, there's only one thing I can do, and that's believe he's telling a straight story. Look, there's only a few days to the trial. I've got a lot of work to do. I shall need some help.
You want someone from London?
No, I'll just look around locally. I think a local man would be better.
Okay, do it your way. Get a local man. Good luck.
I was in the force some years ago. But I saw no future in that.
So I decided to strike out on my own. I studied law at night school, took insurance courses, not doing too badly. Good. Any messages, Miss Ward?
No, Mr. Ferris.
Come along into the Holy of Holies. I didn't think you'd need any help when I wrote to you, but from the newspapers, I guessed there'd be a lot of routine work.
You guessed right. Well, have you formed any ideas yet?
Well, what about Hunter's house keys? How many people did he give them to besides the girl?
No one.
Well, that settles that. Where would you like me to start?
I think the first job I'd like you to do is to check on all the people who were at the party on the night of the murder.
Well, you'll want the list verified. Shall I check it with Mrs. Hunter and the Rushlows?
Yeah, good idea. Do that first.
What about Hunter's neighbors?
Oh, we'll see them too.
From what I hear, Porter's having difficulty in finding another man in the girl's life.
The coincidence of another man being in Hunter's house the night the owner was dead drunk and the girl there is a bit far-fetched, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. And that leaves us with the people we know were there. The Rushlows, young Gordon, Mrs. Hunter. Hey, if you thought about her, next to Hunter himself, hers would be the strongest motive.
Well, if we're going to consider Mrs. Hunter, we've got to consider an accomplice. She couldn't have walked back to Hunter's house from her mother's. She hasn't got a car. I checked with every taxi and car hire in Brighton. So we come back to an accomplice. Of course, there's always Johnny Gordon, but he doesn't fit the part somehow.
You know, we've been thinking along the same lines. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done so much checking on Mrs. Hunter.
I always think of everyone.
Yeah, so do I. Mrs. Hunter gets the life insurance and everything else if Hunter is hanged. You know, when there's a large money motive in a case, it haunts me.
The police still have the rug, huh?
Yes. I've been told not to talk about the else.
Oh, well. How long have you been with Mr. Hunter?
Since he arrived here in 45.
And after Miss Worth stopped coming here, when did you see her next?
In the morgue.
But she called on the phone.
Yes, that night. She asked for Mr. Hunter. He was taking a shower and I was in his bedroom laying out his clothes when the phone rang. I asked her to wait and call him.
I suppose you heard what they were talking about?
Yes, they talked quite a while. Finally he said, Celia, it's no use going into that again. You know I'm marrying Ruth Saturday.
Uh-huh. Now what happened in the morning?
I let myself in the back door. I filled the coffee percolator, set the table, and knocked on Mr. Hunter's door. Too much party last night, Leon, he said to me.
Did you notice if there were any blood stains? I mean, on Mr. Hunter's underclothes or the suit he was wearing or around the house?
No, sir. But later on...
Oh, yes, I know, the blood-stained coat. Was there much blood on it?
Well, just smears here and there.
Uh-huh. And then you found the clothes at the bottom of the cupboard, pushed in as they'd been hidden.
Well, it was right back in the corner. But I always dust the cupboard floor as regularly as the rest of the room. Mr. Hunter knew what my routine was.
In other words, he knew you'd find the clothes.
Yes.
Don't you think that was rather strange of him?
I try not to think about it.
I talked to the butler about Hunter's clothes. Now, there's a difference between a smear of blood and a spatter of blood, isn't there?
I'm not going to allow any of that in evidence. Either way would work to the prosecution's advantage.
Yes, but I can't see Hunter getting blood on his clothes and leaving them around for Kessler to find.
The prosecution will argue that Hunter was careless because he was rattled. Anything but that he was too drunk.
Obviously, they'll say he was shamming.
What other line can they take? They can't admit drunkenness when they're out to convict him of murder.
Mr. Hard, you've got to do something, please. He isn't guilty.
You may be sure I'll do my best, Mrs. Hunter. You mustn't lose heart. Mr. Porter will do everything possible for your husband.
Whatever he does, it won't be enough. I just know it won't. I believe if anyone can help him, you can.
I will. I'm far from satisfied with the prosecution's evidence.
What did you think was wrong with it?
Oh, several things.
What in particular? Oh, if only I could help Link, but just waiting, nobody can imagine what it's like.
I'm sure. You've met Mr. Ferris, I believe?
Oh, yes, a number of times since he started working with you. Well, I mustn't keep you. I'm sure you've got things to do. If there's any way I can help...
Well, there's something we can do right now. Do you happen to have the key to your husband's house on you?
Oh, yes.
I'd like to look over the house again, if I may.
Oh, that opens the front door.
Thank you.
I'll hear from you, Mr. Howard.
Yes, certainly. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. What did she want?
Help for her husband. She's not very happy about Porter, it seems.
What are you planning to do now with all that insurance money sitting in prison?
Keep on working. I thought we might go over the old ground again, in reverse. You talk to the people I've seen, and I'll talk to the people you've seen. Oh, by the way, when you get to Johnny Gordon, stay with him. There's something on his mind. Well, let's go over to Hunter's house, shall we? Ever been inside it?
No, I haven't. Not such a bad place.
Needs that rug back, doesn't it?
Certainly does. I'll take a look round. What's in your mind?
Oh, nothing really. You know, the most interesting witness that Porter produced was that girl who said Celia Worth was being followed.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I expect he was a wolf who lost his nerve.
Oh, why do you say that?
Well, because in a lead as strong as that, Porter would have found the man.
Well, not necessarily.
Look, if he wasn't on the make, why was he following her?
That's what makes it interesting. Well, let's go, shall we? We've got plenty of work to do.
Well, don't you want to look around some more?
No, I just wanted to get a quick impression of the house without anybody in it. If I don't make some progress soon, that company of mine will haul me back to London.
Yeah, and fire me.
I'll give you a good reference.
Thanks. I'll start in the Hunter family right away. Mrs. Hunter first. Oh, as I'll be seeing her, shall I return the key?
No, I'll keep them for a few days. She won't mind. Oh, you know, I think I'll stick around for a bit. It'll give me time to think.
Okay. I'll see you later.
That's funny.
I think if Mr. Ferris will excuse me, I'll go to my room. All this has been rather a strain on both of us.
Yes, of course, Mrs. Copper, I understand. I won't keep Mrs. Hunter very long.
Good night.
Darling, I've waited so long. What's the matter?
Howard kept the key you gave him. I offered to bring it back to you, but he said he wanted to keep it. I don't like that. Why'd you go to see him at all?
I thought I should. I thought he'd expect me to get in touch with him.
Not necessarily. Porter is your husband's lawyer.
I didn't tell him anything. I asked him to help, and I meant it. It's horrible. I never dreamt Link could be convicted. I feel like a...
You didn't go into a lot of details with Howard, did you?
No, we'd only just started talking when you came in.
What was his attitude?
Sympathetic.
Well, that's all right. You play the harassed young bride very well. But why, I wonder, did he keep that key?
Doesn't matter. There's nothing in the house for him to find.
If there's nothing to find, why go back? I don't like it. Oh, what does it matter? Ever since the day you came into my office, asked me to watch Hunter, I felt nothing has mattered except you.
Mal, why did you make me go through with it?
Honey, I couldn't have given you the deluxe life that you wanted. Now, if we hold on, wait a few months, we get all his money and the insurance, we can get away, start a new life.
I can't believe it's me.
Now, watch your step, baby. You were after his money. Oh, yes, you were. You never loved Hunter. If you had, you wouldn't have come to me in the first place.
Do you remember my saying I'd been followed by a man? Don't tell me he's following you again. No, it's not that. But in the Hunter trial, someone said that poor girl Celia Worth had been followed home. It's the same man, don't you see, in this street. But he wasn't following me. Well, suppose he wasn't. What difference does it make now? No doubt she knew who he was and what he wanted. What I don't understand, Lucy, is why you're so interested in the man. He wasn't Hunter, and it was Hunter who killed the girl. Surely you... Lucy, you know perfectly well that Hunter's guilty, don't you? Yes. Well, then why think twice about the other man? No need to. Take my advice and forget the whole thing.
What is it, dear? Is there anything wrong?
No, I've been asked to go on the committee of the club. I won't do it, of course.
Of course not. You shouldn't have been asked at a time like this. Well, I'd better go and finish dressing.
Hello, Mal. I've had a letter. Listen. It's from 125 Archer Street, Brighton. Dear Mrs. Hunter, I'm writing to tell you I have some information regarding the man who followed Celia Worth that may be helpful to your husband. You can get in touch with me at the above address. Telephone number 63881. Trusting that what I have to tell you will be of some assistance in your great trouble, I remain yours sincerely, Lucy Graham.
Damn. It'll be the usual type. But still...
What shall I do about it?
Well, the only connection there seems to be is they're living on Archer Street. You must have seen me. Look, give her a ring, make an appointment. I'll be somewhere around so as to get a good look at her. If she knows anything that Matt has stole her, I'll drop by tonight to hear about it.
Yes, but Mel, I feel... I mean, supposing it is something big.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
But Mel,
He had the look of an adventurer to me. I should know him again in a minute if I saw him.
Miss Graham, what made you think he was following you in the first place?
Because I first saw him as I came out of Houseman's one night. I should have known that no man could be following me. I put it out of my mind until I read that a girl had given evidence that Celia Worth said some man had followed her.
Leave everything to me. Don't worry about it. When you're at the club, I'll telephone you. When I do, drop this in his drink. Get him home, bring something along, put him to bed. Go home from this place yourself. Change your clothes and meet me in the corner of your street as close to midnight as you can manage.
Mrs. Hunter.
Oh, I don't know what to make of it, Miss Graham. Someone who knows more about it, my husband's lawyer, or... It's very good of you to come to me. Have you told anybody else about this?
I felt I should discuss it with you first of all.
You showed very good judgment, Miss Graham. I think the best thing for me to do is to talk this over with someone tonight. May I call you again tomorrow?
Of course.
Yes, I'll do that. Perhaps I can make an appointment for you to meet someone who'll know how to use your information to the best advantage. Oh, it's been wonderful of you to come to me, Miss Graham. It may be very important. It points to another man in Celia Worth's life.
That's what I thought. That's why I felt it my duty to see you.
Mel, she knows you. She said she could pick you out in 1,000. If I bring her to your office...
Bring her to my office. When you get her into the corridor, tell her who I am. Tell her I was following Celia Worth for another client. Tell her you've just found all this out for me.
Mel.
Leave it to me.
You can't.
Ruth. Now get this quite straight. You appear to think that this is all my pigeon. Well, it isn't. We're in it together, right up to our necks.
This can't be me.
Baby.
I want to get my breath.
The stairs? They didn't seem steep.
No, it's just my nerves. I'm rather tired. Miss Graham, we're going to see a private detective who's been working on the case. He first came into it months ago before the murder. He was hired to investigate Celia Worth by someone else, not my husband.
Then he was the man.
Yes. I couldn't reach Mr. Porter last night, so I called him, and he told me he must be the man you saw and to bring you along here. He'll explain.
But he'll tell Mr. Porter about it, won't he? After what came out of the trial.
I don't know.
And you didn't know about it yourself till last night?
No.
But I should think...
Good evening, Mrs. Hunter. Oh, this must be...
Mr. Ferris, Miss Graham.
How do you do, Miss Graham? Come in, ladies. Sit down. I was very surprised when Mrs. Hunter told me that you'd noticed me on Archer Street, Miss Graham. Naturally, I was a bit disappointed with myself. A good detective shouldn't be noticed at all. Miss Graham, I'm going to show you my original file on Celia Worth. These records are, of course, confidential. But I feel that you can keep a confidence, Miss Graham. The information you gave Mrs. Hunter, for example, did you tell it to many people?
I haven't told anyone about seeing her. Not a single soul.
That's fine. Would you like to sit over here, Miss Graham? You'll be able to spread out the file and read it in comfort. Now, if you'd begin here, Miss Graham.
But Mr. Ferris, this is no bearing on Celia Worth.
No choice. I had to. In so deep, help me. It wasn't my fault, it wasn't. I got to get out. Please. Please.
Woman missing. Miss Lucy Graham of 125 Archer Street was reported missing this morning by her landlady. It was learnt that Miss Graham left her place of employment last night at 5 o'clock. She had worked there for the last 35 years. No trace of Miss Graham's whereabouts has been discovered. Archer Street. Archer Street?
Come in. Hello, what is it this time?
Bit of a coincidence, another woman missing, isn't it?
We're checking. She left work and didn't go home. Our landlady said she was dressed up a bit more than usual. All she had was what she'd put by. So far, we found a bank book showing a balance of about £900.
Any recent withdrawals?
None at all.
I suppose you covered the usual angles, possibly enemies, someone who gains by a death and so on?
Nothing there. The cousin will get what little estate there is after the woman's dead. She had an alibi for the whole evening. Anyway, she's pretty well fixed.
Mm-hmm. You found nothing out of the ordinary?
Not a thing. She went to work every day and came home. You know the type, you could set your clock by.
Archer Street. Now, where have I come across that name before?
The Worth murder. She lived in Archer Street, too.
Yes. Hello, Hunter.
Hi.
You saw me at the trial, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember the man who sat next to me every day? Tall man, good-looking fellow?
Vaguely.
Had you ever seen him before?
Not that I know of.
Had he ever come to your house? Now, think carefully.
Well, to my knowledge, I had not seen him before the trial.
What about Mrs. Hunter? Did she ever entertain in your house while you were away in London?
No, she didn't go near the place while I was away.
Do you happen to know a Lucy Graham?
No.
I'm working on a new line. It's rather indefinite. Forget I was here, in case it doesn't come to anything. Naturally, if it does...
Ah, Yes, it's you this time. What's new? Howard was here earlier. You and he are chasing will-o'-the-wisps these days.
That's so?
He's looking for a connection between Celia Worth and a woman reported missing on Archer Street. Name of Lucy Graham. Did you see in the papers about it?
Yeah, I did. Have you found her yet?
No.
What connection does Howard think there is?
Archer Street address. And Lucy Graham had a story about being followed by some man. You're as bad as Howard. You're both chasing a straw man.
Yeah?
Do you remember the telephone call the night Mrs. Hunter was here?
Yes, I know the case well. I read it in the papers.
Where did the call come to?
To the office. When there is a big party on, like that night, whoever hears the phone is supposed to answer it. I did, and it was for Mrs. Hunter. Miss Copper, as she was then.
Can you remember, was it a man or a woman's voice who spoke?
Oh, yes. All of us remember exactly what happened that night. It was a man who asked for Miss Copper.
What kind of voice did he have?
Oh, deep, sir, with a rather quick sound to it.
Uh-huh. And when you told Mrs. Hunter about the call, did you go back with her to the office?
No, she knew where it was.
Mm-hmm. What time was that, you remember?
Oh, about 10, sir.
Yes, we do keep tickets on all toll calls, giving the date and the hour they were made. We have to keep them for 6 months. Well, just in time with this one. In another few weeks, it would have been destroyed.
Oh, not this one, please. It's going to mean a lot to Hunter.
Now, this is the date, May the 29th. And underneath is Hunter's telephone number. This number, Brighton 38292, is the number to which the call was made, the country club. These are the times, 10:05 p.m. to 10:08 p.m.
Have you any news?
And the charge,
Possibly. I went back to the club, Mrs. Hunter, to run through all that confused and contradictory business about how many drinks your husband had.
Oh, yes?
Incidentally, one of the waiters brought up a point that might help to clear up how much time your husband had to drinks whilst you were separated.
Separated?
Well, perhaps separated is too strong a word. But you were away from him to answer a phone call, weren't you?
Phone call?
Well, perhaps you've forgotten for the moment. The waiter was certain that you did get a phone call and that you took it in the manager's office.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, now you mention it. So much happened that night, I'd forgotten. It was my mother, I think.
Not your mother, Mrs. Hunter. The waiter said it was a man. A man with a deep, quick voice. You don't remember?
No, I can't seem to. I'm afraid I don't.
I'd try and remember if I were you. It's important. Please don't worry. I'll show myself out.
Hello?
Mal, I want to see you.
What's the matter?
Howard's back.
Funny? What did he want?
More questions. Mal, there was one thing he asked me. I'm afraid of him. I want to see you.
Come to my place, then. I take too many chances going out to yours all the time.
All right, I'll change and I'll be round in a minute.
Now, what did you tell Howard about that phone call?
I said I didn't remember. I said so much had happened.
What an answer. To Howard, of all people.
I couldn't help it. I was stunned when he asked me.
And showed it, of course.
No, I didn't. I was quite quiet and calm. What should I have said?
Something, anything. A salesman was after you, any damn thing at all.
Well, should I call him tomorrow and tell him a salesman was after
No,
me?
leave it alone.
But it'd help, sure.
Let it go, I said.
Very well.
They found her today.
What? Who told you?
Nobody. I read the newspapers. You don't, it seems. It's a lousy, stinking piece of luck.
But there's still nothing that points to us. You burnt the note she sent me.
Yeah. There's Howard, though.
I'm so frightened. I can't look ahead. Who's that?
I'm not going to answer it.
How do you think it was done?
Well, at this stage, I'd say that the murderer caught her from behind. Used a judo-type hold. She put up a bit of a struggle, but not much.
Doctor, you did the autopsy on the Worth girl, didn't you?
You're looking for a connection between the two murders.
I haven't got it yet.
Well, Hunter was in prison when this woman was murdered.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. If the cause of Lucy Graham's death isn't a secret, what about external evidence? Something like a piece of skin under the nail, or a thread of hair, or a speck of dust.
Well, I don't know quite what to say about that. I work for the Crown. The Crown has a case against Hunter. And, of course, Hunter's life is at stake, isn't it? We mustn't overlook that. Well, we mustn't overlook the £20,000 your company has in line, either.
It's the price of Hunter's life, isn't it?
Well, you know, of course, that we make exhaustive tests. Our findings eventually reach the police. Now, supposing we discover what appears to be the fiber of a rug caught under a piece of loose leather on the sole of a shoe. Work on that. Eventually, we'd be able to tell the police what company made the rug, how old it was, what type of flooring it covered, and so on. All this takes time, of course.
Upon analysis, it was established beyond doubt that the drug...
Good morning, Ferris.
Well, this is a surprise. Anything new?
No, same old treadmill.
Well, sit down. Thank you, Miss Ward.
Oh, don't let me take you from your work.
Oh, it's just routine stuff, catching up on some dictation. I'm out of the office so much that Miss Ward complains about how far behind the records get.
I'm not that bad, Mr. Ferris. Wait until I've been working for you longer. Then you'll see.
Conscientious, your secretary. I gather she hasn't been with you long.
Oh, quite a while now. Well, how's it going?
Oh, so-so. I went back to the country club to check on how many drinks Hunter had.
Did you look up anything fresh?
Oh, nothing worthwhile. How's the detective business?
It's pretty good. I've got 2 other fair-sized jobs which keep me busy.
Fine. I'm afraid I've got no assignment for you just now. I just called in to say hello.
I'm very glad you did.
Why don't we have dinner together sometime? We both need a break.
Yes, I'd like to very much.
Good. I'll give you a call.
Do that.
It's very good of you to come, Miss Becker. I've got a job tracing you on the telephone. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Well, now, suppose we start with you telling me why it was you left Ferris. I understand you were a secretary up till quite recently.
I'd be very glad to tell you anything that can help.
You think he wanted you to resign?
Yes.
Do you remember anything unusual happening before you decided to leave?
Yes.
What?
There was a telephone call one day from a woman who called herself Rose Copeland. But there was something about the way she talked. I told Mr. Ferris that that couldn't be her real name.
Rose Copeland. I see. Ruth.
And then, after her first interview with him, he kept it all to himself. And that very Friday he fired me. But what's this to do with the Hunter case?
I don't know for sure yet. But you'll be hearing from me. Until you do, I'd like you not to mention it to anybody, least of all to Mr. Ferris.
Oh, don't worry, I won't. I'd like to hear more about it myself, though.
You will. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And thanks for coming. Rose Copeland. Ruth Copper, it must be. A little fool. Oh, hello there. I just dropped by to see if I could catch you. I thought we might have that quick dinner together. I've got an appointment afterwards.
I came back to pick up some papers. I'm sorry about dinner. I'm afraid I can't make it.
Perhaps I could find a drink in my office. Would you care for one?
No, thanks. I don't think I'll wait for a drink. I'll have some dinner and keep my appointment.
Well, what about dinner tomorrow night?
Yeah. Let's do that. Good night.
Good night.
Hello, this is Brighton 9646. Can you get me long-distance supervisor? Thanks. Hello, this is Mal Ferris speaking. I'm terribly sorry to trouble you after hours, but I'm working with Howard, the Commonwealth man on the Hunter case. We've run up against a little snag. Did he check with you on calls from Hunter's house?
Yes, he did it yesterday. It's all taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night. Hello. This is Russell Smith, Mrs. Drayton. I work for Mr. Howard. I want to talk to him. Is he at your house, or have you seen him all day?
No, I haven't. He was here yesterday afternoon, but I haven't seen him since. Is there...
He can't prove a damn thing. The rug? I'd say yes. Yes, she was here. I told her to go to the police.
Hello, Mal.
Yeah?
I haven't heard from you all day. I've been worried.
Have you heard from Howard?
No, and I don't want to. Wish I never had to see him again.
Well, don't see him tonight. Don't even talk to him on the phone. Tell him you're sick. Go to bed.
I can't go to bed. My nerves are like fiddle strings. I can't even stay in the house. If I can't see you, I'll go out somewhere. Well, something's wrong, isn't it? What?
Never mind what it is. I don't want to talk about it on the phone. I'll take care of it.
Don't say that. Tell me what it is.
Take it easy. It's Howard. He's traced the phone call to the club.
What are we going to do?
You do what I told you. Go to bed. If Howard arrives, you're too sick to see him.
Mal! What are you planning to do? Mal, you can't. You mustn't.
Look, stop being foolish. I won't do anything I don't have to. You just take a sleeping pill. Go to bed. Forget the whole thing. Will you do that much for me?
Try.
Okay, baby. Good night.
Yes?
Mr. Howard?
Yes?
Look, I've got to see you right away. I must talk to you. I'm at Clay Rushlow's house. They're away, and I came here to be alone. Can you come out at once?
Right away.
Thank you. I'll be waiting for you.
You little double-crosser.
Mel!
I was in Howard's room. I answered the phone. What were you going to see him about?
I wasn't. I hadn't planned to tell him anything.
No? What were you going to tell him?
Nothing. I was just...
Come on, baby, relax. Sit down. This wide-eyed act leaves me cold. Come on, baby, sit down. Have a cigarette. Go on, sit down.
I must have been out of my mind. I kept thinking what that man knows about us. He seems to have sympathy for people.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he'd probably have quite a bit for you. The law is lenient with squealers.
Mal, please forget what I did. I'd had a terrible day. I had to go to the prison to see Link, and then you told me all that on the phone. I felt I'd scream or go mad if I stayed in the house. I remembered Clay was in London, so I drove myself over here and let myself in. I tried to read, but it got worse and worse. I didn't know where you were or what you were doing. Mal, I couldn't stand it if there was another murder. I couldn't stand it, I tell you. That's why I phoned Howard.
Now, don't tell me you thought he was going to give you a pat on the head. Say it was all right and let it go at that, you little double-crosser. Ready to crawl and drool to Howard to save your own skin. Yes, you were. Ready to see me hang so long as you didn't have to. Why, you...
Mal, you said you loved me. Nobody ever...
You should have had the hell beat out of you long ago. That's enough of that. Come out of it.
You said you loved me.
Good. You were going to rat at me. Put a rope round my neck and you talk about love.
No, I didn't think of it like that. All I thought of was another murder. I'm terribly frightened. I don't want to go to prison. I know what it's like. Every time I visit Link, I nearly die. Mal, you've got to do something. You've got us into this mess. You said we'd be all right. I was always afraid. I went ahead because I loved you. You said you'd take care of me, and you've got to. I didn't kill either of them, and I can't stand it. Not another day, not another minute.
Stop. Shut up.
I'm sorry. I won't try to phone Howard again, I promise.
I don't think you'll try to phone Howard again. Because you're in this much, much deeper than you think. I've still got the note that Lucy Graham wrote to you. I didn't destroy it. If I bring out that evidence, you're going to have quite a time convincing a jury that you were on the outside all the way. It puts you right smack in the middle with me.
What do you want me to do?
Sit down and I'll tell you. I think I've got this thing worked out.
Hello?
Mr. Howard,
Speaking?
this is Ruth Hunter. I'm sorry to call you so late, but I've got to see you.
Here? Or shall I come to your house?
Not the hotel. There's no real privacy, and I'm not at home. I felt too restless to stay in. I'm at the Rushlows. You've been to their house. Would you just as soon come here?
Yes, that's all right with me.
Thank you. I'll look out for you in a few minutes. Very kind of you to come so late. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Where are the Rushlows?
They're not here. They're in London. I know where they keep the key, so I came over. And I made up my mind to call you. Mr. Howard, I want to tell you about that telephone call. I lied when I said I didn't know who it came from. I knew all the time. He wouldn't give me his name. He said he knew nothing about Link. Said he had a young woman with him that he wanted me to meet. The whole thing sounded so unpleasant that I hung up. I haven't told anybody about it until now.
Mrs. Hunter, do you expect me to believe all this?
Why not? I mean, it's
Don't
true.
bother.
What?
And don't move, Howard. I've got a gun.
Mal, you didn't give me enough
Look,
time.
baby, when he did that double take, I knew he'd caught on.
Mal.
I told you I wouldn't. Put your hands up. Get his gun.
Ferris, you're licked on this. Your only chance now is to get away as quick as you can. My boss in London knows the whole story.
Don't give me that, you're too cagey. Ruth, go outside, put his car in the garage, bring mine round to the front.
You won't get away with it. They know too much about Lucy Graham.
I'll take the risk. I'm in the clear as far as Celia Worth is concerned.
Maybe you could have got away with it on your own, but not with Mrs. Hunter. The money comes through her, and I wouldn't count on her sticking it out.
I'm warning you.
Of course, if it comes to a choice between her money and your neck, you can always kill her.
Get up. And if you open your mouth again, I'll let you have it. All set?
Yes, all set. Mel, I had to do it. You lied to me. You never loved me. You were after Link's money. It's all your fault you got me into this. Yes, you did. I told you and I told you I couldn't stand it. Mel. I did save you. It was all Mal's fault. You'll tell them that, won't you, please?
It's a bit late for that.